Mitsuki was furious. Her best friend's boy was missing and no one was looking for him except for Mitsuki and Masaru. It was like she was letting Inko down in some way. Even though this was never a specific promise, it was more of a mother's promise. If something had ever happened to herself and Masaru, Mitsuki knows Inko would have done everything in her power to protect Katsuki, love him and keep him safe, yet Mitsuki couldn't even find her son. "This is your fucking job, you numbnut," she yelled into the phone, face beet red from anger. "You don't know Izuku like I do. He wouldn't just go missing without telling anyone. He's not rebellious, he's responsible. I'm telling you, he might not be safe." The officer continued to brush her away, explaining moronically that they're doing everything they can. "You're doing everything you can? You haven't done jack shit." Mitsuki could barely hear the man on the other side of the phone as anger continued to cloud her senses. "It's been a week. A week. This young boy is missing and you're not listening to me." When the officer began to give his usual speech once again, Mitsuki hung up the phone aggressively and resisted the urge to smash the device into bits. Katsuki was sitting at the kitchen table with his eyes casted down low, poking at his dinner. "Kat," Mitsuki sighed, "have you heard from Izuku? Could you call him for me?" Her son looked at her with a blank expression, one that was rarely given. "I haven't heard from Deku." Mitsuki frowned because that wasn't her entire question, so she asked again, "Could you call him then?" Katsuki pulled a strange face, his nose scrunched slightly and his eyebrows slanted in what Mitsuki could have sworn was worry. "I don't have his number." Mitsuki's thoughts malfunctioned for a brief moment. "Huh? What did you mean? He's your friend, why don't you have his number?" When Katsuki didn't yell back or throw out an insult, Mitsuki couldn't help the suspicious thoughts that began circling in her mind. Katsuki opened his mouth and she thought she might have been about to receive a proper response, but instead the kid said quietly, "I'm going to train." He stood up suddenly and ran to his room, returning not even a minute later in his workout clothes and pulled his shoes on, slipping his earphones in and running out the door. Mitsuki was aware of Katsuki's self-made training regimen to prepare for the UA entrance exams, and Fridays were specifically reserved for rest days, so this jog was clearly to avoid whatever conversation Katsuki saw coming. "I'm sorry, Inko," Mitsuki spoke quietly to the empty home, "I'm so sorry." Mitsuki fell onto the couch and let her head fall into her hands, her shoulders beginning to shake as tears sprung to her eyes. Never in a million years could she have prepared herself for a situation like this. How could anyone? And what if that asshat of a father tries to get his hands on Izuku again? Mitsuki's sobs intensified at the thought. She wouldn't let him take Izuku, not when Inko fought so hard to rid Hisashi from their lives. He used to be a good man, when they were all young and stupid and so easily manipulated. Hell, even Mitsuki was manipulated. Hisashi was a man who always knew how to get what he wanted and would do anything to do so, but they all realized that too late. When Izuku was diagnosed as quirkless, things only got so much worse. Inko was so brave though, so brave. But she was still hurt. And Izuku was too. Mitsuki couldn't think of anyone else she could ask for help, not when the police were treating this situation like Izuku has done this before. Katsuki specifically said that Izuku didn't have any friends. That was an immediate red flag. If his home was destroyed, who was he staying with? What if he was alone? And Katsuki, he's never been an emotional person, but she expected him to be a little more distressed about what had happened with Inko, especially since Izuku's missing. The two don't hang out anymore, but it's probably because of school and Katsuki was taking his training so seriously. They could hang out at school together anyways, right? Unless something else was going on, something that Katsuki was hiding. Mitsuki took the opportunity to scream a string of creative swear words in the empty house, ignoring the fact that the neighbors could probably hear her as clear as day. Everything about this was a mess, and Mitsuki didn't know how to fix it. Izuku's been completely attached to this new project. He's already had to steal several new notebooks and pencils. Wait, not steal, the proper term is borrow. And not to brag, he's been getting pretty good at it too. Turns out looking normal and going unnoticed all your life really has its perks when you're homeless. No one even bats an eye at a shy, plain-looking kid when there's so many other people with unique aspects to their appearances to look at. For example, Izuku needed some deodorant from the drugstore the other day. If he was someone who stood out more, there was a large chance that the cashier would have noticed a child stuffing hygiene products down his pants, but the lady was instead in a trance, too busy looking at another man with a literal halo around his head. Like some sort of fucking angel. What kind of quirk, you know what, doesn't matter. What does matter is that Izuku skipped out of the store with not only his new deodorant, but also a bottle of cold coffee, some pretzels, and a scratch ticket. He didn't win though. Don't get Izuku wrong, his morals are still intact. Family-owned stores are most definitely off limits. He only goes for the chain businesses that have been scamming the public for so long, not like they would miss some borrowed products here and there. Hygiene has always been important to Izuku too, and sneaking into gyms with showers is way too easy. They really need to make some investments on security plans, because if a 14-year-old child can come and go as they please, pretty much anyone can get in. Izuku was now back in the library where he spends his entire day, only leaving to borrow some necessary items and to continue his other project of cleaning the beach. In fact, he's already moving on to larger objects like loose tires, chairs, and desks. He was currently scanning through all his notes, muttering quietly as he recounted what he already had. It started off as just researching about different types of metals, trying to figure out what would best suit his, goals. The most obvious answer would be to get his hands on some tungsten, but even Izuku could admit that it would be next to impossible, let alone expensive. So for his backup plan, Izuku was looking for a variety of metal types that include steels and irons instead, where they would be durable yet not impossible to find. As Izuku began to delve deeper, he moved on to different throwing techniques, discovering his preferred grip, the hammer throw. Sure, it might be basic, but it allows for an accurate and forceful throw. Izuku can already get decently close to his target from 10 meters, and he's only improving. There was also the pinch grab for throwing knives in which Izuku wanted to start practicing, but he had to find some decent knives first to borrow. You're here again. Oh fuck. Izuku startled and dropped his pen, spinning in his seat to see Lanky leaning over his shoulder. You don't sneak up on people like that. Lanky's face stayed the same. I didn't sneak up on you. You just need to be more situationally aware. Izuku pressed his lips into a thin line and they stared at one another, neither breaking the silence. Eventually, the smaller of the two clapped his hands together and picked his pencil back up. Right. I'm just gonna. He slowly turned back to the desktop and wrote some more notes down, Lanky's reflection still showing on the screen. A minute passed and Lanky didn't move, simply hovering over Izuku like he was some sort of toddler watching their parent cook dinner. You've been doing research about knives this entire time, the purple-haired boy spoke again, Izuku not really picking up on a question. Yes? Lanky snorted, there must be a reason you're doing it. What's with this motherfucker and being cryptic? Yeah. Izuku beamed and turned around again, for science. And, curiosity. Lanky blinked slowly, much too similar to a cat, then leaned down, bullshit. Izuku laughed and turned around, you're funny. The boy walked around to the other side of the table and fell into the seat, leaning back and crossing his arms over his chest, purple eyes analyzing Izuku. You're young. You should be at school. Izuku scoffed with fake offense, excuse me, young? I'll have you know good sir, I'm 14 years old. You said it yourself, I'm just small. Lanky tilted his head, okay. 14 years old. You should be at school. Izuku didn't really want questions like these, why's Lanky all about socializing now? Just climb back into whatever hole you came from, fucking hermit crab. Well, I could say the same for you, Izuku pointed his pencil towards the boy, you can't be much older than me. I'm 14 too. And I do school online. That's why I'm here. Online school? Izuku should look into that, he still needed an education. Probably. Online, huh? Is it expensive? Or is it free? Do you go into school every other day like a routine, or is it, like, meetings? Oh wait, maybe all the lessons are pre-recorded, so, Izuku muttered off and tapped the eraser of his pencil against his forehead, Lanky staring at him with a bored expression. It's pre-recorded lessons, you move at your own pace with exceptions. I have 4 months to complete each semester, and obviously there's 2 semesters. You select your own classes, and it's free tuition, but you have to do an online assessment to be allowed entrance, Lanky interrupted. Izuku pursed his lips, just one online exam? Izuku could probably pass. Again, probably. So let's say I wanted to do the same program, I just take the test, and if I pass, I'm in. Lanky nodded. Interesting. Izuku sat there quietly for a moment to mull the idea over, not noticing Lanky leaning over and ripping a piece of paper from his notebook. He slid the paper back over with a link written on it, that's the school. Izuku immediately typed it in on the desktop, frowning when it didn't show up. It's not there. You're mean. Lanky rolled his eyes, you need a private computer for the school, public library desktops won't do. Izuku couldn't help the frown that settled on his face because once again, we were back to the whole, my items and belongings are all currently crushed under what remains of my apartment issue. He could attempt to steal a laptop, but he didn't think he was ready for that, it would be much more difficult. You're making a strange face. That's just my face. Izuku shouted back, the old woman hushing them from the front desk. You don't have a computer. Again with the cryptics, why doesn't this kid just ask questions like a normal, functioning human being? No, I don't. Oh well, education is overrated. Lanky rubbed the back of his neck and sunk further into the chair, I have an extra. Was he offering to help Izuku? Oh, but I don't have any money. I can't pay you. The tall boy stood up and his neck cracked quietly, fine. You can owe me a favor or something. Izuku smirked, kinky. No. Lanky smacked the back of his head with actual emotion displayed on his face, that was a first. You're a little shit, you know that? Izuku smiled wider, sir, yes sir. I'm not sure what I could do for you, but let me know when something comes to mind I guess. Lanky clicked his tongue and disappeared into the back room, returning moments later with 2 laptops in hand, here. You can use the Wi-Fi here, Kiabu won't mind. What, is that a guard dog? Seeing his confusion, the boy followed up, she's the librarian. Also my current foster guardian, so. Another orphan? Twins. Oh, does this mean we're friends now? Izuku asked and opened the laptop, Lanky returning to his previous seat. No. Ah, Izuku whined, come on. You know what, too bad. We're friends now. My name's Izuku Midoriya, what about you? Lanky stayed quiet for a moment, eyeing Izuku once more like if he looked hard enough, he would discover the secrets of life. Hitoshi Shinso. His first friend. Not that Izuku would ever say that aloud, because that was probably really lame, but suck on that Kaken. Izuku hummed excitedly and found the school's website, finding the exam link and clicking on it without hesitation. You should study first, Lanky, oops, Shinso pointed out, it's kind of hard. Izuku waved his hand weakly, it's do or die. What? Izuku looked at the 3-hour timer at the top of the page and cracked his knuckles, diving right into the math section. Izuku Midoriya finished the exam in 1 hour and 16 minutes. Izuku Midoriya passed with a 98%. This is an ugly beach. Izuku laughed at Shinsu's blunt statement, tossing his stuffed bag next to the rock and got right to work, scooping up a broken radio and tossing it into the wheelbarrow he had found in the next pile over, although he had to reattach a tire. I told you that, why are you surprised? Shinso shrugged and kicked a rusted pot, I thought you were being dramatic. You tend to do that. I do not. You literally just did. Izuku could have sworn Shinso smiled slightly as the two fell into an easy banter, something that's become comfortable between them. Izuku's enjoyed Shinsu's company the past few days and it made online school slightly more enjoyable, although they didn't have the same classes since Shinso was still further ahead. Izuku enjoys school either way, the classes are easy and the teachers can't purposefully give him low marks anymore, because they have no idea he's quirkless. Are you going to high school? Izuku asked, continuing to toss things into the wheelbarrow. Shinso hesitated for a moment and he quickly cleared his throat. Yeah, but I haven't decided where yet. Izuku sensed a lie, but decided not to push his luck and ask any further questions. You don't talk about your parents, Shinso said carefully and began helping with the cleaning. They should wonder where you are. Izuku froze, realizing he hadn't thought about his mother in a while. How could he have forgotten about her so easily? Yeah, he chuckled nervously, my mom works a lot and there's no dad in the picture. She knows where I am though, don't worry. Yeah, if heaven exists. Oh, Shinso said quietly, okay. I thought maybe, never mind. Izuku raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything, the two cleaning in silence as the sun slowly went down. Shinso. Izuku laughed as he set up a little target practice, blowing some sand off his knife and taking aim, using the recent techniques he had learned to hit the bottles. Damn, he huffed when he missed by a few inches, I'm getting closer. Shinso stood there with his eyebrows raised, please don't stab me. Izuku laughed loudly and took another throw, the bottle breaking in two when the knife pierced it. Yeah. Izuku would say Shinso seemed impressed, or something of the sort, so this is what the research is for. Yep, Izuku jumped, popping the pea, I'm already getting better. It's all just math to be honest. So you calculate the throw in your head. Izuku nodded, MHM. It's getting dark, I'll walk you home and then I've gotta get home too. Home is also known as an old storage building he found abandoned a few blocks away. It had good space for knife throwing though. Yeah whatever, Shinso said, already starting up the steps while Izuku chased after him, going the long way to bring the wheelbarrow up the ramp. So there must be a reason you're cleaning the beach, Shinso said. Izuku frowned, dude, is there a reason you don't ask questions like a normal person? Just ask me why I'm cleaning the beach. No. Fine, I'll do it. Izuku lowered his voice. Hey Izuku, why are you cleaning the beach? He returned to his normal voice. Great question Shinso. There's no real reason, I just found this place one day and decided, hey, I wonder how long it would take to clean. And here we are, cleaning. Shinso looked unimpressed, but nodded, then I'll come with you to help. Really? The smaller boy gasped. It's because we're friends, isn't it? We're not friends. We're totally friends. The best of friends. No. Yep. Besties. Izuku Midoriya is a very strange person, but it's not a bad thing. Hitoshi has never met anyone like this boy, this mystery of a kid. Hitoshi sees himself as an above-average student, thankful for his natural intelligence that outweighs his lack of motivation. Midoriya though, it's inhuman. It has to be his quirk. Midoriya is flying through his classes with ease, often completing several lessons in the same amount of time it would take the average person to complete one. On the school's website, it's written that one term or semester should take about 4 months, in which the smarter and more dedicated students could complete in about 3. For Midoriya, if Hitoshi's brief calculations were correct, continuing at the pace he is now will result in completing the entire term in just under 2 months. Was that even possible? Not to mention Midoriya casually throwing out that he completed the exam in under half the time with a 98%. To create some perspective, Hitoshi finished in 2 hours and 33 minutes with an 86%, the top quarter of most examinees. So a 98%? It has to be some sort of intelligence-enhancing quirk, but Hitoshi thought that the knife throwing had something due to his quirk. Who would have that as a regular hobby? Yet again, Midoriya wasn't just anybody regular. That was for sure. The kid talked to himself, made gross jokes that Hitoshi would never admit he found funny, and is casually cleaning up an entire shoreline of garbage out of his own curiosity and will. Midoriya wanted to clean the beach and Hitoshi could barely roll out of bed in the morning. But Hitoshi did get out of bed this morning. Take the loss for today, sadness, although Hitoshi knows it'll be back soon. Anyways, Izuku Midoriya. As much as he says he has a mom, something isn't adding up. Everyone has different bodies of course, and Hitoshi isn't exactly muscular, but Midoriya isn't just small or thin. He's underweight, and the kid practically inhales food Kyabu brings them like he hasn't eaten in days. Like no one's feeding him. Despite his size, Midoriya can definitely handle his own, casually wheeling down an entire fucking fridge from the beach to the junkyard like it was something he does every day. In which Hitoshi guesses is true. Either way, Midoriya's got a hell of a lot of secrets, but Hitoshi understands what it's like wanting to keep your life from others. He wasn't one to push for answers. Yet, what if Midoriya was in a dangerous situation? If something were to happen to him, Hitoshi would have no choice but to blame himself, knowing he could have done something if he had only asked. In hopes of getting Midoriya to talk about himself, Hitoshi decided to take the risk of sharing something first. You asked me what I wanted to do for high school. Midoriya looked up from the English essay he was typing, stretching his arms above his head and nodding. Yes, I did. Why? Hitoshi shifted nervously in his seat, keeping his eyes on the closest bookshelf as he responded, well, I want to go to UA. I want to be a hero. Waiting for some sort of ridicule like other kids usually did, Midoriya's eyes lit up and he flashed a huge smile. It was nearly blinding. Wow. You're gonna be a hero? Oh, what's your quirk? Hitoshi's stomach dropped. This is where things always go wrong, where everyone labels him as a villain. Would Midoriya do the same? Brainwashing. I can make people follow my orders. This is where Midoriya should scoff, tell him he can't become a hero with a quirk like that and run for the hills. But no, Midoriya only smiled wider. Oh my god. That's so fucking epic, are you kidding me? Hitoshi couldn't think straight. Did he just call his quirk epic? But it's a villain's quirk. Midoriya's smile disappeared faster than ever before. Huh? Who told you that? Everyone. Midoriya frowned deeply. Are you kidding me? You're fucking dumber than you look. Hitoshi blinked slowly. Was something wrong with his hearing? Think about it. Midoriya raised his hands up high. You could solve so many situations without even having to resort to violence. My first thought is with hostage situations, you can trick the villain into surrendering, not putting victims in the line of fire whatsoever. Midoriya wasn't done, or where heroes with flashy quirks can't use them, because it would cause too much damage or make things worse. You would be able to fix that. Shinso, your quirk is dope as hell. What came next? It made Shinsu's eyes grow wide. You'll be an amazing hero. Midoriya gave one last thumbs up and began typing again, pinching his bottom lip in thought as he muttered under his breath. Hitoshi watched him for a moment longer, then cleared his throat once more. You should come with me then. To UA. Did he say something wrong? Izuku was wearing a strangely serious expression on his face, one that Hitoshi can't recall seeing before. I'm not meant to be a hero, he spoke quietly, suddenly finding his nails very interesting. Before Hitoshi could respond, Midoriya perked up with a gasp, but I can totally help you. Hitoshi frowned. It wasn't that he didn't want help, but what was with that initial reaction? He was daring himself to press further and backtrack, but Midoriya exploded in excitement. Listen. Okay, ever since I was young, I've been really interested in quirks and heroes. I've been doing these little studies, like analysis where I break down a quirk, analyze its strengths and weaknesses, potentials and drawbacks. Even weapons, support items, and fighting styles. Hitoshi was still confused, and Midoriya chuckled. What I'm saying is that I have a wide span of knowledge on quirk use, combat, defense, all that jazz. I could help you. Hitoshi leaned back in his seat. So you take fanboy notes. Midoriya frowned again. Yes, but in detail. I'll help you find a fighting style, and we can train together. Besides, we low-key already started with the beach cleaning. Hitoshi was feeling a bit too lucky at the moment. You want to help me? Yes? Midoriya squeaked nervously. I mean, I lost all my notes recently, like, a shit ton of notes. But I've been making more in my spare time and I can go see if I can find any of my old ones. Well, that's another red flag. Free time? There's no way he has even more time, he's literally always with Hitoshi, day to night. And he lost the notes, yet he could still go find them? The notes are either lost or they're not. Midoriya is contradicting himself and Hitoshi wanted to know why. Look, this can be the favor I owe you. I'll make a training schedule and everything. Midoriya seems so confident and so excited, how could Hitoshi say no? Besides, it's not like he had the money to afford his own professional personal trainer, and perhaps Midoriya would be good at this. It couldn't possibly do any harm. Okay, Hitoshi huffed. Okay? I said okay. Midoriya jumped out of his seat, awesome. We'll get started right away. Hisashi has been a little all over the place with this whole missing child situation. And a partner is supposed to calm their significant other down, right? Shoyuta wasn't exactly an expert, even after all these years. But he'll always do his best. To attempt putting his husband's mind at ease, Shoyuta is currently taking the time out of his patrol to spare a quick look at what remains of the fallen apartment buildings, just looking around for any possible clues that might help. The area hasn't been cleaned yet since the case hasn't been officially closed, and the police don't want to risk tampering with any newly discovered evidence, so it's been left the same. Shoyuta used his capture weapon to shift through the smaller pieces of rubble, unsure what he should be keeping his eye out for. They knew the kid didn't die on scene, so it's not like he would find a body. Hopefully. While focusing on one area at a time, Shoyuta spotted movement from the corner of his eye and he automatically prepared for a fight against a villain, but stopped when he saw a shadow manually pushing and lifting rubble around in one concentrated space. The figure was quite small, dressed in large dark clothing, head hidden underneath the hood of their sweater. The only real distinctive attributes on the figure was the yellow backpack and large, well-worn red high-top shoes. Shoyuta approached quietly and carefully like it was some sort of wounded animal, their face hidden by not only the hood but a mess of unruly dark curls. Wow! Shoyuta startled as the figure looked at him, Eraserhead. You're so cool. He couldn't lie, Shoyuta was startled the kid recognized him, he wasn't an underground hero, for no reason. He shook his head to escape his thoughts. What are you doing? This is a crime scene, you know. The kid picked up a dusty notebook and blew the dirt off the cover. I know. Although soft, the voice must have been that of a young teenage boy. He sounded similar to the boys at UA. He slotted the notebook in his backpack and continued looking. Because of your quirk ability, you essentially fight quirkless, the kid spoke up again. Shoyuta faltered. Was that a question? Yes, I suppose so. The kid hummed and put another notebook into his bag, not following up with his statement. Should his mind wandered to Izuku Midoriya, perhaps this was him? It would make sense if the child wanted to return to try to find his belongings, and that would explain the notebooks. On the other hand, why would a child voluntarily return to the scene where their mother was crushed and they lost literally everything? Knowing it was better to be safe than sorry, Shoyuta sighed and carefully prepared his capture weapon. Obviously you know I'm Eraserhead. What's your name? The kid froze for a moment and slowly zipped up his backpack. My name? Oh dear Lord, please don't make Shoyuta take down a grieving and traumatized child, it wasn't exactly on his bucket list. The kid laughed quietly and Shoyuta repeated, yeah, what's your name? The kid snorted and slapped a hand over his mouth, choking out what he found so funny. Mike. Shoyuta hummed, do you have a family name? The kid's face was red from holding in his laughter and blurted his answer out. Hawk. Oh. Oh wow, real comical problem child. That was the thing, being a teacher and surrounded by teenagers all day every day. A joke like this didn't come as a shocker anymore. Shoyuta nodded slowly, real good. Can you come with me then? I can help you home. You shouldn't be out at 1 in the morning on your own. Yeah. He'd bring the kid home, also known as the police station. The kid adjusted his backpack on his shoulders and nodded, yeah, thanks. I don't live too far, just down the road. Wait, what? Mom would kill me if she knew I was out, the kid explained while they climbed out of the rubble. You won't tell her, will you? Shoyuta couldn't respond because now he was even more confused than he was at the beginning of this conversation. So this wasn't Izuku Midoriya? This was just some random boy digging through the remains of a building? Before Shoyuta could analyze the situation, a fist swiftly met his crotch and the kid took off ridiculously fast. Shoyuta bit the inside of his cheek to keep himself from swearing out loud, activating his quirk and launching his capture weapon. The kid didn't even flinch when Shoyuta erased his quirk. Everyone always had some sort of reaction. Strange. As his scarf approached the boy's ankle, the kid easily leapt over the looped fabric and disappeared around the corner of the closest building, and Shoyuta knew he was too late. That little shit punched him in the balls. Shoyuta groaned and returned to the area the boy was picking around, finding a torn and water-damaged notebook. On the cover, he was able to make out the title, Hero Analysis, and, oh. Of course. Midoriya. Izuku ran as fast as his legs could carry him, tripping twice because his eyes were trained towards the night sky. Izuku adored heroes growing up, and obviously that included underground heroes like Eraserhead, and he knew he often jumped rooftops. Izuku couldn't get caught. What if he was in trouble? It had occurred to him that the police would probably discover Izuku Midoriya had a child, but would they really look for him? They wouldn't if they knew he was quirkless, that's for sure. Izuku has never been more grateful for all the running he did from Kaken and his followers in school. It made him fast with a high endurance skill. Even cleaning the beach has improved his fitness level greatly, actually providing him a bit of muscle on his bones. But wait, what if this has nothing to do with his mom? What if they've discovered his, borrowing? Izuku only ran faster at this thought, panting breathlessly as he dove into the old storage facility, slamming the door behind him and bending forward to catch his breath. Meeting Eraserhead, good. Punching Eraserhead in the nuts, not so good. But hey, the man had it coming trying to trick a child. He was obviously planning on taking him to the police station or something like that. Izuku trudged across the cold concrete ground, the light from the moon shining through the large windows the only reason he could see, flopping down on a black sleeping bag he found in a thrift store. He didn't actually steal for once, but used the money he had left, because the thrift store was family-owned. Morals. Izuku opened his backpack and carefully removed the notebooks he was able to recover, only locating 4 intact. The number of the notebooks he found were 4, 7, 10, and 11, pretty lucky. There was a 5th one he gathered as well, but it was too water-damaged to read. He wasn't able to identify the number. Using the flashlight from his phone, he opened Hero Analysis number 11 and ran his fingers down one of the pages, an in-depth analysis on a young hero climbing the ranks rapidly, Hawks. Izuku chuckled at the small smiley face written on the corner of the page, something his mom always put when she really liked one of his drawings. A small spot on the page was damp, and then another, and is the roof leaking? That must be it. Oh. Izuku was crying. Izuku hastily wiped his eyes. He didn't want to feel weak. But the tears kept coming, so he put the book aside and let his tears splash onto his pants, his sniffles echoing in the cold, empty building. Empty. He was alone. Izuku couldn't stop for the life of him as the tears intensified, his nose beginning to sting from sniffling. His chest was burning, and it was so hard to breathe, and for the first time, his mom wasn't there to rub his back. His mom wasn't there to hold him tight and tell him that everything would be okay. His mom wasn't there to say she loved him. Izuku will never get to tell her that he loves her ever again. Izuku wrapped his arms tightly around himself and squeezed, unsure of what he was trying to achieve. He only cried harder, his mind beginning to swim and his vision beginning to grow darker, his small hands gripping at the fabric of his shirt with desperation until they flew to his hair, tugging hard. He was alone, in the dark, sobbing. What would Kaken say if he could see him now? Something about being a weak, quirkless Deku. Probably add a little suicide baiting in there, to really sell his point. It's what Kaken's good at, along with everything else he does. Izuku though, he'll never be good at anything. He'll never be enough. Everything he ever does just ends up catching flames, and everything he touches breaks. How long until Shinso breaks? How long until his only friend realizes what a nuisance he is, and makes a run for it? Izuku's mind wandered to their conversation earlier in the day, how he had offered to help train Shinso. That meant it was up to him to prepare Shinso for UA, and if Izuku fails, his friend fails. The problem is, Izuku fails at everything. He failed at making his father proud. He failed at gaining a quirk. He failed at being strong enough for Kaken. He failed at making friends. He failed at becoming a hero. He failed at protecting his mother. For the first time since Izuku was orphaned, he cried all night, working through anxiety attack after anxiety attack. They wouldn't stop, and those messy thoughts wouldn't leave him alone, the ones that people have told him so many times before. Maybe it would be easier to follow their advice. It would mean he wouldn't have to deal with this entire situation anymore. It's not like anyone was around to miss him, life had nothing more to offer him. Because all he wanted was his mom. A child just misses his mother. Mom, Izuku choked out as the early sun had begun to shine through the windows. His eyes were bloodshot red and puffy, his scalp sore from the hair pulling and pain. Mom. I miss you.